Hey everybody, welcome to another video. Continuing right along with our Marvel Comics series from 1985 by week. So if you've been watching it, you'll see that they all have Marvel Comics 1985 week, blah blah blah. This is week 24 that we're doing today. There's 50. Obviously, it's 52 weeks in a year. So every year. Every Wednesday comic books come out and they count them by weeks. So just in case anybody was unsure of that, that seemed pretty self-explanatory, but let me just clarify that every week comic books come out today too, on Wednesday. Some of them come out I think DC comes out on Tuesday. They come out a day early or something like that. I don't know if they still do that. But specifically, we're talking about 1985, so we're going back 40 years ago, and we're looking at Marvel comics that come out by week. And so if we're in week 24, we're looking at week 24, which is, what is it? It's the second week of June in 1985. I think it was the 12th. I'm not going to bog down on the dates, but I think we're to 2025. I think we're a day off-ish, something like that. But anyways, so we're going to go through every comic book that came out by Marvel Comic Books for the most part. We're not going to go through every comic book, but we're going to mention every comic book, and I'll show you here. So let me just, before I click over, I just wanted to tell you something. I'm not going to dig them out again, but I was looking at all of the books for the Marvel Superheroes role-playing game from TSR, which started in 1984. The last publication, official publication, because I think there's some fan-made stuff I've seen online, but the official publication, last year that series officially had a publication was 1991. Oddly enough, the year I graduated high school, but it was the Fantastic Four module, I think, for the advanced set. The advanced set coming out in 86, so you had 84 through 85, you had the basic set and all its modules and supplements, and then you had the advanced box set came out in 86, and then you eventually got the Marvel Universe handbooks, but with all the stats, all the stats for the characters, as opposed to just information. So that's, at the time, that was like my favorite thing in the world. I liked it better than Dungeons and Dragons as far as role-playing games. I was locked in with Marvel Superheroes role-playing game and locked in with the comic books. I mean, it was so the crossover and it exists today. There is a role-playing game, and it does look like modern comic books. So in that regard, yes, I don't like it. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is the funny thing is remember I was talking about the Copper Age of comic books, which is the time I was really into comic book collecting, and the Copper Age is 1984 through 1991. It follows the role-playing game follows the Copper Age exactly, which is funny because of course I'm always very specific that I started collecting about halfway through 84, so not the full year, and I kind of lost interest in comic books for the most part. I mean, I still kind of was there, but not really about 1989, 1990. So, my Copper Age is even shorter, but it's my Tim Age. So, but I just wanted to point that out just because I noticed that. And I was like, oh, that's very interesting. If you were to look at the Marvel, the Superheroes, the role-playing game by TSR, which I think they exist, but it's not the same company who did Dungeons and Dragons. That the years of publication follows the years of comic books that I was into. So, which is primarily most of the 80s, with the exclusion of the first couple of years of the 80s. All right, let's switch over here. Let's make sure I got all this. Oh, let me get this all lined up here. Sorry, I should have done this a little earlier, but just takes a second. All right, so let's switch over to. There we go. That's what I wanted. And I'll try not to block some of the comic books here, but just look up at the top here. We're starting with week 24, 1985. Of course, here's all the different weeks for the full year. Again, this is a fandom site. The easiest way to find the specific site is just look up specifically what you're looking for, because if you go to fandom and you try to navigate through the search, it's a nightmare. So I just suggest doing it this way. Or go to Google, just put in week 24, 1985 Marvel Comics. You should come to this exact page. And then you can navigate from here by the different weeks, different months, and then you can even skip here and keep clicking the Decembers or the Januaries and go forward or backwards. And this goes... I mean, they've got comic books, like new releases aren't even out yet. They've got them like a few months in advance on this. So I don't know how far back. I never went that far back. I don't think it goes back to the Golden Age, maybe, but I don't think. Well, if we're looking at Marvel, it's going to go to the. I don't even know if it goes to Timely Comics. To tell you the truth, I've never looked that far back. I should at some point, but let's stay focused here. We're at 1985, week 24. And we're going to go through the comic books here. Luckily this week, there's a few that I read, and I actually read a couple that I kind of lost interest, that I kind of regained a little bit of interest in. But looking at the comics here, let's also remember, as we do, we exclude like Doctor Who magazine. Yeah, I know it came out in the U.S., but we're going to exclude that. It's just a Marvel publication. We're also going to exclude like Get Along Gang, Muppet Babies, which are all the Star imprints. If you don't know what I mean by Star imprint, let me just show you that real quick. Actually, I want to go to the image now. And of course, can I go back? All right, how do I go back in this mode? Here we go, back. Sorry. Let's go to the... So what I'm talking about when I say imprint... I'll get rid of that part so I can see it more. I don't like that. I can't see the full image. Oh, wait, here we go. There we go. So, you see where it says Star Comics up? Normally it'd say Marvel up there in the corner. That's Star Comics. Star is an imprint of Marvel, and they handle stuff like the Get Along Gang, Muppet Babies, stuff like that. They also do like Silverhawks and Visionaries, some of the cartoon-related stuff for, and then He-Man eventually. Masters of the Universe was done that way. They handle it for Marvel. So we're going to exclude that because, I mean, even when it comes to like the He-Man stuff, which I don't think is out yet at this time, I wasn't reading it. So we're going to, and we're also going to exclude, I don't see, oh yeah, there's one. The Epic imprint. And as you see with the Epic print, same thing. Well, actually, wait a minute. Oh, this is not an Epic. I thought this was an Epic. Solomon Kane. I totally missed that. I thought it was an Epic. Is there any Epics here? Moon Knight? No, there's actually no Epic this year. You'll see it up in the corner. It'll say Epic and the little E for Epic. That's their like adult. Not like adult as in like pornographic. Although it gets risque. I mean, there's nudes once in a while. But I mean, for the most part, it's like the adult, imprint of Marvel. It's more serious adult subject matter. I find them to be, for the most part, boring as all hell because they're not fun. If you're going to go full adult as in pornographic, sure, I'm on board, right? I like to see some of that. But if we're talking like adult, serious drama, when it comes to comic books, I just go watch a drama or just go read a romance novel or something. I mean, it's or a detective novel. I want fun. I don't want Get Along Gang and Muppet Babies fun, but I want fun, which is like a nice happy medium, which I would consider like tween to teenage years. I mean, it's my primary time of reading was I started in, essentially 6th grade, summer out of 5th grade. So basically going into 7th grade. I did 7th grade all the way up to senior in high school. So that's my tween and, well, technically, I guess, it was 11. So it was tween and, nobody said tween back then. You were a kid until you were 13 because I had teen in the word. You were 12, you were still a kid. You were 11, you were still a kid. You were 13, you're a teenager. You're 19, even though you're an adult technically, or 18, you're still a teenager. basically it's my teen years and some of, the very end of my childhood. And that's what these comics are supposed to be. I mean, Avengers, G.I. Joe, the Hulk, X-Men, all of that stuff. It's for that age demographic. So let's go through these. Let's just read off the comics real quick, and then I'll get into the actual CBRs, and we'll go through a few of the issues, because I did read a few issues this week. So we've got the Avengers, which is 259. We've got, I keep doing that. I'm meaning to just hit the image. All right, there we go. So we got the, there we go. So, 259 of Avengers. Let's scroll ahead. We've got Conan 174. We've got the Doctor Who magazine we're going to skip. We got G.I. Joe number 39. There's Get Along Gang, of course. We're skipping that. We got the Hulk number 311. We got Marvel Age number 30, which I'm just going to touch very briefly on that. Marvel Fanfare, I had like a couple of Marvel Fanfares by accident. It was because I bought those 3-pack, they had the mystery comic in the middle. And of course that's how they got rid of those. It's just throw all the Marvel Fanfares and the Solomon Kanes and the crap, the Gargoyle limited editions, all the crap that they cannot sell because it was crap. They threw it all in these blind bags where you could see the front comic, you see the back comic, and those are usually ones people wanted. And then they would stiff that one in the middle, and you'd buy it for $1. You get 3 comic books, at 65 cents, 75 cents. You're, for $1, it's pretty cheap. But you ended up with a Marvel Fanfare. You ended up with a Neil Adams Fantograph, or whatever his thing is, his Echo of Future Past. You end up with stuff like that, stuff that it was crap. And the thing is, not only was it crap, but it's so, like Marvel Fanfare, it's so of that time crap too, which is funny. Oh, sorry, I wanted to keep that up. Let's see. Where are we at? Marvel Fanfare. Let's go to, again, we're also going to exclude Marvel Tales because it's just reprints of Spider-Man. Moon Knight, I'm not going to get into Moon Knight because, like I said, I wasn't really reading Knight. That was the volume 2, I believe, as well, number 4. Muppet Babies we're going to skip. Power Man and Iron Fist, as I always talk about it, I was never into Power Man and Iron Fist. It just never really appealed to me. I didn't get, this is the thing, you would have said, like, hey, it's got Kung Fu in it, right? Watching Kung Fu movies. Yeah, but I didn't make that association seeing Iron Fist's costume with the yellow, obviously a superhero style mask, and the Doctor Strange collar and the outfit. I didn't get it. You had to literally put a guy in a Kung Fu costume back then, or a ninja costume, or a karate gi, so that I knew that meant martial arts. But this character, I didn't get it. I didn't understand that. And then the whole Power Man, I just like, okay, Power Man and Iron Fist. It's like, the whole Heroes for Hire thing. I don't know. It was a byproduct of the late 70s, and it was still going at this time. As you can see, they're on issue 119, and it never caught on with me. Just like Doctor Strange never caught on with me. Moon Knight. Sorry. Rom, also something a byproduct of like 1979, and I was getting at the time, and I got this issue, and I'm not reading it anymore because it is, I guess I got to give it, some issues were okay, and like I said, I got bored with some of the comics I did like, and then if I go back and I look at this, there might be a couple that I like, but for the most part, I'm not reading the ROMs. Solomon Kane, like I said, I thought that was an imprint of, or Epic imprint. It's a limited series, 6-issue limited series. I vaguely know who that is. I remember this. I remember him being in the corner. But, here's the thing about some of this stuff. It's just like, you give a guy a rapier, a tall pilgrim hat, and a trench coat, and it's not a superhero. It's not, he doesn't have a garish costume. He's not, I don't know, it didn't appeal to me. Great painting though, but I mean, it just didn't appeal to me. We're going to skip over, oh sorry, this other thing we'll skip over is all the British releases. Most of the comic books, US comic books, were brought over there in magazine form, like little digest form. Or actually not digest, but they're magazine form size comic books. We're going to skip those because those obviously didn't come out here. There's a classic issue of X-Men, X-Men 197. I did read that one, so we'll go over that one. Obviously, I usually always read the X-Men. Web of Spider-Man Annual, double-size annual. I did not read it because I can't really get into the Web of Spider-Man comic books. Heaven forbid, read an entire annual. I don't know. When we get to the Marvel Age comic, I'll show you something that's kind of funny. But keep this in mind. So, Web of Spider-Man Annual #1 that came out this week, back in 1985. Okay, so let's get out of here. Let's go over to the file of comic books, and these are the ones that I did read. Now I'm not going to go too far into Marvel Age, and I didn't read it. I mean, I poked around in it because that's what Joe. I mean, I don't know anybody who ever read Marvel Age cover to cover. I mean, I really want to get their 35 cents worth. I pretty much read it like you would read a Marvel premiere. You just what's coming up that's new. There might be an article about something that somewhat interests you. That type of thing. So. But let's go start off with Conan here. So let me bring up this in my comic book reader. Let's go to full screen. Here we go. Great cover. It's John Buscema. I mean, John Buscema at his, I would say, yes, his best, but, Savage Sword of Conan was more of his best. But this still was great. It was just a little more, it was colorized for one thing. It was a little more streamlined. But still, it's great John Buscema art. Great cover, too. He just had some amazing covers. He really has that look on Conan where he looks, I'm not going to say ape-ish, because, like, the picked characters in there, they look more like Neanderthal or apes, or primates, but he's got he's very animalistic looking, let's just put it that way. He looks very animalistic. And that's not Red Sonja, if you're wondering. If you've been keeping up with these as we've been going, you'll find it's, I can't even remember her name. She's got a name and I can't remember it. We'll call her Tessa, but that's not it. I guess I should write some of this stuff down. But, like I said, but this is how you would, I probably didn't remember her name back when I read it when I was a kid. So, it starts out with they're on the march. It's her, Conan, and this general guy who's a Zamorian, I think, or not an Aquilonian, of one of those tribes or whatever, or kingdoms. Anyways, they're kind of they're looking for this treasure chest because they've got this treasure map. So they're kind of on a quest, and they come across these kids, the children of the corn, or the children of the night. And as you see, we'll get going here. They attack. You've got this kid who claims to be a prince, and he's kind of like their leader. It's very Children of the Corn. And then it's funny. That girl up there, the redhead, it's like she's supposed to be like 16 years old, I think. And he's really, up in the ante on drawing your pretty adult. It's funny, but like I said, in the issue where she makes where she takes off the dress, not literally, but she goes down to this skimpy outfit and stuff. It's the way he's drawing her. He draws her, it looks just like a teenage girl, and then he draws her like a young woman, like almost instantaneously, just by changing her costume. But bear in mind, she's still 16 in this. So, and of course, in the story, that's a trope. It comes up a few times. Or Conan's really got his eye on her, as in like he doesn't want her to get, to be a teenager. He's kind of being like almost like a fatherly figure to her, where he's kind of saving her from running off with every young guy, and it happens in this comic too, which is pretty funny. So these kids attack them. They think they're, I can't remember who they think they are. They think they're the people that they're enslaving their village or kingdom or whatever. And they kind of get the best of them there. It's kind of weird. And then the one guy, this guy goes nuts. And he just starts killing, like literally, he cuts that kid's arm off and just starts killing kids for real. And the kids are like, whoa, wait a minute. We're not really going to kill these people. Or they're like, oh my gosh, our friends are getting slaughtered. And then, of course, Conan whips his skull at the guy's axe and knocks it out of his hand. And he's like, I cut it out. We're not here to kill kids. He's like, they're children, Del Mirio, I guess that's the name of the guy. And then they run into some more soldiers here. This Marshal Barbarus, or whatever his name is. Great drawing on the bottom there. That's total John Buscema Conan artwork. I mean, just the pointed helmet, the eyebrow, the mustache. He's definitely supposed to be a fop, as they're called. He calls him a fop in here too. Which is kind of neat. They're the Aquilonians, I'm sorry. And then the Aquilonians are in Zagara. Trust me, there's a whole DK encyclopedia on all the kingdoms and tribes of Conan, the Conan universe, because it's pretty extensive, from the Robert E. Howard novels, and of course with all the other people piling on and doing more books as it goes. But anyways, like I said, just amazing. I love these open panels, using the trees as like a framing purpose, silhouette of a tree to frame it, using the silhouette, kind of pours into the black of those legs of the horse. I mean, that's just classic, cool 70s art, fantasy art, comic book, or not just comic book artwork, but illustrative fantasy stuff. So she kind of wrestles herself free here, and then this guy comes up, this Tetra, or no, Tetra's the girl, that's her name, Tetra's her name. What did I call her? Tessa? Tetra is her name. And this is Santerre? I'm terrible with pronunciations of words. But he's this prince of Zagara. And of course they roll up into Zagara with this Barbarus guy, and then they see all the people have been hung, right, like in the streets. So they're all, right off the bat, they're like, this is what are we getting ourselves into here? They meet this guy. He's just this pudgy figurehead. It's really this Barbarus guy that's leading the show, and he's kind of he's a nut. He's a lunatic. He's always got these spurs on his boots here, and he's always talking about keeping his spurs clean. Which I think that's a spaghetti western trope. Didn't Lee Van Cleef have like no, it was the bullets on the belt. Didn't he have a big thing with the spur? And then of course now Tetra and whatever his name is, Zajanthopus or whatever this guy. Prince Xanthar, let's just call him that, it's easier to pronounce. They go out walking, and they're getting to this young love, getting to know each other. And of course, see, she looks like a 16-year-old girl there. It's funny how, like I said, this is the way he draws her. She looks like a woman here. She's got a youthful face there. He's looking odd. And then still very Red Sonja here, because this could easily be Conan. And then she looks pretty youthful here, and then this image here, which is a great drawing with the borderless, frame panel. You can really tell she looks younger, and it's funny. I love how they double this too. He's like just about to kiss her. I think she's kind of infatuated with him now, and then boom, Conan grabs him, and he's like, and he grabs her, pulls her off. He's like, nope, it ain't gonna happen. I like little stuff like that. It's amusing. And then we go back to these guys. Blah 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 blah. Basically, the fit hits the shan here eventually. Conan kind of gets wise to everything. She and then she screams because she sees they hung the kid. They hung not all the kids, but they hung the prince. And so she's distraught and heartbroken, and he's like, Conan's ready to go. Let's go, dude. So he's Conan in it. And then we get some more Conan. And then that guy, he's like, he was going to just go ballistic. And these guys are overtaking these guys pretty easily, and he's like, oh, I guess I got to get the hell out of here, pretty much. She's still, balling there. I think he goes to kill her, too. He's going to, whatever he's going to do. I guess just cleave her in two with this scimitar. I don't think that's going to happen. But anyways, and then, of course, the kids overpower him, and they show his fancy spurs there. So the kids end up overpowering him, and they end up hanging him. Adding them to the collection of bodies hanging. It's very grim. I mean, it's Conan. This is Conan pulling its punches. For just a regular Marvel imprint, which I guess would consider PG. Conan's pulling its punches here. I mean, if this was full out Savage Sword of Conan or the novels, I mean, she would be naked half the time, even at 16. It would be a lot more darker than this. So this is Conan light, which it was a big draw. A lot of people liked that. That was what really made it popular. Yeah, you can see his spurs hanging there as he's hung. So they've executed him. So good comic, good Conan comic. It's following this whole storyline. It's kind of linear storyline with them on the march. On this quest for this treasure. So I've been enjoying it. It's been keeping my interest. I probably do the same as you, so I can highly recommend that comic. Again, I mean, I know I'm going through the story here. I'm not going through the story exactly, but I'm kind of telling you. Spoilers. The comic's 40 years old. It shouldn't even be a thing now to do spoilers from something 40 years ago. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. I mean, you kind of know what you're getting into with this video, too. I'm going to go through these. So let's go into G.I. Joe 1939. Sorry, G.I. Joe number 39. Sorry, I got dates on my brain. This also is kind of continuing where we left off. So we're back into, where were we at again? Sierra Gordo. We're going back into this. We got this team. Basically it's the new action figures. You've got a Stalker, of course, is the original one, but you got like this Halo Jumper. You've got Wakanda, which is a new figure at the time. Roadblock was a new figure. Of course, Larry Hama doing the storyline. So, and it's going to have like a three-part, or it's going to have like multiple stories going on. So Gung Ho is actually not new because he was an 83 figure. So these are all the 85 figures, yeah, that are the ones that are starting to show up in here too. And I was collecting the comic. Right now is 85s when the cartoon started to go. Doing the whole what do you call it? Was it 85 or was it 86? No, it was 85, wasn't it? Where it started to go into syndication? Because before it was just those, the movies. I think this would have been this wasn't was this Pyramid of Darkness? Yeah, this was Pyramid of Darkness. The 86 miniseries was The Rise of Serpentor Rise with Dr. Mindbender, characters like that. And then we go into, obviously, the Cobra-La, the movie mini, which was just a mini series in 1987. So, and I was still collecting, even though I was in junior high. I guess I'll save my story for the next week, because we're going to do a Transformers comic that I really like. But like I said, I mean, so you're in junior high, and I'm still buying action figures. Like I said, I was kind of out of He-Man by this time. But I still like my G.I. Joes, and I've still got a few Transformers. I still like my Transformers. So, and a lot of kids did. And, I got into Mask this year, too. Like I said, a lot of kids did, but a lot of kids didn't want to pony up to it, and we kept it hidden. It was like we're like a closet. You're being a closet. Even though we're only 12 years old, it's like we're adults, or we're young, we're older now. We can't act like this. It's skateboards and girls and hobbies. Like I said, comic books kind of got sort of a pass because people thought, oh, well, hey, there's comic books. This is back before the speculator bubble. Like, oh, people are buying and selling comic books, making money at it. So it kind of had it kind of took a little bit of the geek factor off of it, or the nerd factor off of it. But really, at the end of the day, push comes to shove, you're going to get bullied for reading comics. I mean, let's think of it got a mild pass in junior high, and a mild pass in high school. But action figures, no, you're ostracized. You can't do any of that stuff. But we were still secretly doing it. Where are we? Back to the story here. So they're taking on this fortress bunker thing, this Cobra bunker, breaking in. I can't even remember what they were doing, why they went here in the first place. I know. Just to rescue this Burkhart chick, the scientist. And then they do. They end up breaking her out. End up. I think they kill the doctor over there. Like I said, also, this is why people like G.I. Joe. You had Conan, as we just saw. Conan was pretty grim and dark. You're killing, hanging kids, right? In G.I. Joe, obviously, I don't know. I mean, Billy was the only kid. They weren't really going that far, but they weren't, throwing their gun down when they get 2 feet in front of him and go punch the guy. They were shooting him. Those guys are dead that are laying on the ground there. They're not knocked cold like they do in the cartoon. And that's why young kids, young 80s dudes like myself were all crazy paramilitary, we were all like, oh, it's awesome. They're killing them. Yeah. Ninjas and berets and camouflage and M16s and Army Navy surplus stores and and of course the Cobra was essentially the commies, you had your kill your commie for a mommy, and what was the other shirt I had? I a couple of t-shirts I wore to junior high and I got sent home. One was my kill a commie for mommy shirt. The other one was what was it? Red? I can't remember. It was, what was the shirt I had? Die Like the Rest. Something Die Like the Rest. They were just, like anti-communist, shirts with very, derogatory, very, what do you call it? Whatever, derogatory statements towards killing communists, in the 80s. And I used to wear these shirts, with camouflage pants to school, and I got sent home. They wouldn't let me wear those shirts again. So I got nailed twice with both shirts. And I wore an Airborne shirt. I got an black Airborne shirt. And they're like, oh, I don't think this is appropriate. Really? I could see the Don't Kill Commies shirt is not appropriate, but an Airborne shirt? I think I had a Rangers shirt, too. Just said Rangers on it. And they said, no, it's not appropriate for junior high. It's our military. What if my dad was a Ranger and I wanted to proudly wear a Ranger shirt? Right? You can't do that. I don't know. It's weird. Even back then, it was the Wild West in the 80s. Trust me, it's Reagan era. It was the Cold War, but schools were still pretty, pretty hard on stuff that they considered not appropriate. Maybe it wasn't. Who am I to say? I'm not really the best judge of what's appropriate or not. So. Back to, this is, okay, not this specific issue, but like I said, they were leading up to one, but when Storm Shadow was training the kid, Billy, because Billy's like, I'm our age back then. I think Billy's 13 or 14 here, but I was, 12, almost 12. It's 1985. I said all those ninja movies, Revenge of the Ninja, Enter the Ninja, Nine Deaths of the Ninja, Ninja of the Ninjas, and and now you got a comic book where they're killing people. It's all paramilitary. It's all Army Navy surplus story. We're all buying nunchucks and throwing stars from, And then you got this white ninja too, who's totally badass, and he's training this kid to be a ninja. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just like, look at that, goosebumps. Just the hair on my arms stand up. It's just like that was so ingrained in so part of my psyche, as my one friend will tell you. He'll roll his eyes first. And he'll go, oh yeah, listen to Tim talk about his ninja years. If I could have found a white ninja costume at the time, which I think I did, but I didn't get it, I would have got, and I really wanted the camouflage ninja costume from the AWWA magazine ads. But I had a ninja outfit, tabi boots, the whole 9 yards, ninja toe, shurikens, the throwing spikes that would, on the wrist. I had it all. I had it all. At this time, because I wanted to be a ninja. I thought that was a thing. You could actually be in, like, if you read enough Stephen K. Hayes books and Ashita Kim books and had a subscription to Black Belt magazine on a regular basis and just pour through all this stuff, that somehow, this goofy, awkward kid, tween kid with a head full of crazy can be a ninja someday. That's what I thought. It was the 80s, You can do anything. Anyway. But yeah, they're training in that water tower. It's like, oh, that's so cool. Sorry. And then back to, Gung Ho and Stalker and the guys, trying to fight their way out of this bunker with this doctor. You got these, what do you call these Amazon River Basin guys, these, whatever they call them. They had a tribe name. I can't remember what do they call them? Not the Zoomies. Oh, the Tucaros. So Rakondo's basically got this whole village of these Tucaro guys, and he's giving them all weapons and showing them how to use it. He uses them for backup here, and then of course they get wasted. See, they kill them all. They killed all these Tucaros. They're all killed off. And then then we cut back to the Cobras. Now we get some Baroness right there. She's looking pretty good in that costume. Anyways, then you got Destro and blah blah blah. They're basically just giving a recap just to say, hey, we're still here. Back to the action, and then they got to cross this river, and then I think Rakondo's gonna swim the river. Is it Rakondo? I think it's Rakondo. No, Rakondo goes back. Who swims the river? Was it the Halo Jumper? This Ranger issue nylon, and so he gets this. Of course, it's Larry Hama, so he's got to have his, his Army Navy surplus store checklist, of all the different. He's got his Ranger issue nylon 7/16 rope. He's got it in his teeth. Jumps in the water and braves the rapids of this crazy, raging river here to get to the other side, so they could make a rope bridge so they can get across. I mean, it's just that type of shit, I got to get your, got it. It's funny. I went to we had a garage sales here in the Bay City area. This guy had nothing but knives, like a bunch of knives out. And he had one of these Buckmaster knives that I always wanted as a kid. It's like $35. And I was just about to buy it. My son, of all people, my 13-year-old son is like, what are you going to use it for? And I'm like, for killing people. For home defense, I don't know. I just really wanted this knife, and my son talked me out of it. And I was like, all right, yeah, I guess I don't need to blow $35 on this knife that would have cost like well into the hundreds back at Jerry's gun shop back in the day in Rochester. But I was going to say, I had these. My mom had this. She had this weird. She had like Tupperware and all that stuff. She did these pyramid parties and stuff, and she did this one for this like catalog, and they had these little like inserts. A lot of just junk. It's basically like, like you get those junk catalogs that just sell like odds and end crap. But they had this survival knife that, I don't know if you guys remember this, came in a long box. And it was basically just pot steel crap metal that was sharp. And, you could it came with a sharpening stone. And that had like a compass on the hilt on the top. You can unscrew the compass, and it had like this little survival kit in there, like a cord saw. You could saw down trees, like waterproof matches, I think the sanding stone, and I want to say there was like one or two other little trinkets inside it, and you came in a little pouch you put in a little bag to keep it waterproof when you put it inside that knife. I had like 3 of them. They were like $10 at the time, which was kind of expensive, but yeah, that's totally what this comic book is tapping into. I mean, you couldn't get. Like I said, this comic, it's like a Bible to kids back then, to young teenage boys back in the 80s. It's like G.I. Joe was like, you talk about tapped into the psyche of the average 12-year-old boy in the 80s. You couldn't get any more than this comic book. And it's funny because that's none of that stuff exists today. I mean, I don't, like I said, my son, he's into Invincible because it's all ultra violent. But I mean, even online, I guess they would probably, I would think that they would probably suppress that stuff pretty heavily, like parents and stuff, and people, and YouTube itself would probably suppress that if you had some guy like, train all these young, teenage kids into how to, do survival. Kids really want that shit, but I don't think it would fly today, not with the sensibilities and everything all going how it is, but I'm not going to get into that. I love this scene. This is a great scene too here. Sorry, I am taking an awful long time. I might not even get through all of the comics. But Storm Shadow shows up, and then you got these punks, literally punks, mohawks and all. And he just gives him this evil death stare with the red background. The guy's like, hey, we're out of here. And Storm Shadow says, part of being a ninja isn't just using your fists. It's by the art of fear, mastering fear, and violence without violence. I just, sorry. Again, goosebumps. Back to the rope bridge, they make it across, yada, yada, yada. They save Burkhart, they get her back to base with Duke and Lady J there. They're trying to press her, too, for information about her dad, which she's like, I don't know anything about what he was doing. I think he was a Cobra operative. Not Burkhart. That's not Burkhart. That's the Bongo the Bear Girl. I'm sorry. So the other people aren't back to base yet. That's the, I can't remember what her name is. The Bongo the Bear Girl. What's her name? Candy. That's right, Candy. Candy. My name's Candy. I bet it is. A great line from Highlander, which came out, I think, in 1985 or 84. I think it was 85. Got Wild Bill there. Blah blah blah. That's basically the end of the comic. They got her. Yeah, they're on a plane back to base. Cover girl with the red hair too, at the time. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's skip Hulk for right now. I did read it. And I don't know. I did read it, but anyways, I'm just gonna touch this real quick. We'll just go into Marvel Age. I just want to show you this. They had this thing you could vote about outstanding, good, fair, poor, awful. I'm talking about the story, the art, and your overall impression for all of the annuals. So we were talking about Web of Spider-Man annual number 1, which came out this week. Right off the bat, the annual on there that I focused on, of course, obviously, was that great annual number 9 of X-Men. Conan, I loved it. So I would put that in story. I don't know. Maybe that story I'd put, it was good. It was a good story or fair story. The art, though, it's Arthur Adams at his prime. I would say I'd probably put the art at outstanding. Overall, I would say it was good. Like I said, I can't go through all the other ones at the moment, but if you got some time, look at this. Check this out. Write some of these down, or if you can get a copy of this, and see what you think. What did you think was? What were your overall take, or your takes with the art and story on some of these annuals? It's a lot of annuals in 1 year, but anyways. What's your call on an annual? I mean, I'm not. I kind of find them to be a little redundant. I mean, I know there are lots of like annual number 9, lots of big story events happened in annuals, and a lot of annuals would do crossovers. I mean, they had this New Mutant Special Edition, which is technically an annual, I guess, at this time. Or when Rogue got her powers from Miss Marvel, that happened in Avengers Annual 10. I mean, I'm not saying annuals don't have their memorable moments, but just by and large, do you really get excited over an annual? I didn't. I know they did like the Evolutionary Wars was a whole series of annuals, and the Atlantis Attacks, that's more towards the 90s. But I don't know. I wasn't huge on it. Let's just flip through this real quick. We're not going to talk about the story too much. We'll flip through Avengers. I did end up reading Avengers again. but not just because it's just a great shot of Nebula's butt there in the first splash page, but anyways, like I said, you really see the sensibilities of how he draws. That's not normally the body pose that I like, but I know it's he comes from a different time period where it's all very, like Marilyn Monroe, how she would stand a certain way. But great art. He makes Nebula really appealing looking. You got what's this? I can't remember the guy with the big hot air balloon head is. I can't remember what his name is. But just look at that. Just look at the art. You got this open. I mean, this is awesome stuff. You got this open panel on the bottom. You got another panel, superimposed over it to cover this dead spot to make it basically it's a big, literally a square there, upper portion of this page. You've got her in the corners. Your eyes go right to her legs, obviously, or maybe her chest. I don't know. But then you got this sprawling, just panels of alien tech gobbledygook, and the guy, working. He's setting his controls with the heart of the sun here, and then you've got. I mean, and it's all an open panel, even up to the top. That's this awesome page layout. And like I said, Buscema, as you saw in the Conan stuff, he was just knocking it out of the park with that stuff. I mean, he'd do that stuff in sleep. Most of the time he was doing the breakdowns, and I still don't know exactly what a breakdown person is. I just always assume that a person doing the breakdowns would lay the page out real quick, and then the finisher would go in, but then there's no inker, so then I assume, is breakdown just another name for penciler? And then a finisher is another name for inker. I'm not sure exactly how much everybody did, but and because and he's doing the artwork in the Conan too. It's just like he's going quick with that stuff. I would say he probably laid out 2 pages a day, easily, and just mastercraft. Throwing the stuff out there. A lot of great panels. I can't remember what's happening at this time. I'm sorry. Oh yes, Firelord's there. I can't remember. Oh, they got this guy. Oh, they're, totally blanking on what was going on at this point in here. I just thought that was cool with the Black Knight. It's this like mechanical, basically a drone, like a speeder bike type of thing, like a mechanical horse. Again, open panel right there. It's great stuff. Great faces on everybody. Everybody's always just got a great face. His ships look awesome. His landscapes, his like alien world landscapes, fantastic landscapes. You got the Skrulls here. A little wonky on that face there, but yeah, I'll give him a pass. He always loves to do that like that kind of like old Flash Gordon-y kind of handgun pose there. I guess it's the Han Solo too, you're using the blaster pistol. The big H ship is not the most it's not the most I mean, these other ships are cooler looking, but you got and then they meet back up with Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau, and they're like, hey, we gotta go out and we gotta like, this is Avengers business. Yeah, we gotta go do this job or whatever. So then they give you a flashback when the Skrulls are fighting off Galactus, blah blah blah. You get more you get a little backlash when she was when Monica was captive, or not really captive, but when she was on the ship with Nebula. Good stuff, really good stuff. I said Nebula's really hot in this comic too. So was Monica. I mean, all the women. I mean, you always draw the women really attractive. And the dudes look cool too. Dudes are cool and the chicks were hot. That's pretty much how it goes. Anyways, so look, we've got enough time. Let's go through and hit X-Men, Uncanny X-Men real quick. And if we have time, we'll go back to the Hulk, and then we'll give a wrap up here. So This is 197 classic. I think it's on the cover of Essentials collection. I think it's on the cover of an omnibus. They really like this image here. Although Rogue's, I don't know how she's got that that magenta top there. It makes no sense. But it's more John Romita Jr. It's the classic lineup, of that time. Claremont, Romita, Green, Orzechowski, Glynis Oliver, Ann Nocenti, Jim Shooter. It's the regular, brigade. And then basically it's what's his face? Peter's having a crazy dream, and then he wakes up, and then oh, yeah, that's right. It's the Arcade issue. So then Arcade's basically like, "Hey, Doctor Doom's trying to kill me. I need the X-Men's help." And they're like, "What?" They don't trust Arcade because he's Arcade. Now, normally I would hate an Arcade comic. Like every time I'd be reading a comic, it's like, oh, there's going to be an Arcade comic. For some reason, I would just roll my eyes and be like, But this one's not so bad. As long as it gets to see what's her face. Not Tessa. Is it Tessa? Lady Miss Locke. Miss Locke. His whatever you call it. His like bodyguard. When we see Miss Locke, and then of course you got Madeline Pryor here. This is pre-Goblin Queen too. And then you've gone back here, so they're kind of they're still skeptical, but they're like, okay, I guess we'll help them. And then he's like, we got a bunch of the robots that we use normally in Murder World, so you can use those to help you out to fill out the team that's not there. And they get kind of like, oh, it's kind of weird having having them around. It's almost like they're real. And then you get and then Nimrod. You get the scene with Nimrod. Nice bottom panel of the underpass in New York. And then the top of the train station there is pretty cool. And the train itself. And you get this weird Doom transforming Dr. Doom train robot thing. Remember, they're in Murder World, so you get some cool fights with some weird, weirdness, and then you've got, these robot X-Men that are there. This is back when Romita Jr. was pretty much on his game. Of course, it's a Doom robot. It's not Doom himself. You kind of knew that. And then, of course, Kitty does the old trickaroo here, where she thinks she's got Kitty, but it's not Kitty. She's using the Kitty robot. There's Miss Locke. There she is. And then they kind of... It's funny. I always thought that was a white Testarossa. It's not. It's like almost like a Porsche, I guess, or a Mazda that Arcade's in up there. And then that's the end of the comic. Like I said, I'm not going to get into the story that much, but it's pretty decent. It's worth reading. This is classic. This is literally classic X-Men. It's not classic X-Men, but it's classic X-Men. And come hell or high water, come an Arcade issue, or come even a Life Death issue, which is coming up. Oh, that's a tough one. I'll still read Uncanny X-Men all the time. Like I said, I'll bowl through a Life Death. I really did not like Life Death. It just, I love Storm, I love Mohawk Storm, but that whole Forge Storm thing, and maybe I'm jealous because Forge is getting some Storm action. I want some Storm action. Anyways, that maybe, or it's so just boring. It's like too much drama. I don't mind drama. Throw a little, melodrama in there, but it's too much. I don't know. And then the whole trying to get her powers back, and he's coaching her through getting her powers back and stuff. It is what it is, but that's one point in the X-Men, classic X-Men comics, where I'm just like, oh, this is hard to get through. All right, we got enough time. Let's go back and just hit the Hulk real quick. Like I said, the whole thing with this Hulk being in this weird dimension is fine. And I was really getting kind of bored. I was like, I don't know if I can read these. And then, of course, the alien girl character with her costume, that caught my attention, of course. And then, he's transformed back to Banner. And then we get this, it's also weird how they not that I'm focusing on her, although I am focusing on her, but the thing is, they didn't do this. I don't know if this, I would love to see the original comic book of this, how it was colored, because they didn't normally do this, where they would just use, you see how you've got the yellow, that's a Doc Martin color, and then you'd get the orange, which is like that's another Doc Martin color, I can't remember what the number is on it, and then this white, which would be the paper. I don't know if they use liquid Frisket, because it almost looks like it's brushed on, but they normally never used to do stuff like that in the interior pages, but this character in specifically, she's got these 3 tones in her legs and her skin, or furries. I think she's furry, I think. Maybe not. But they don't normally do that. I mean, they would do the blue and the white. That was common. That's a total old school comic trick, especially with the blade of the knife or the skull. But, and her brace, or her, whatever it is, her bracer. But and her skin, though, they didn't normally do that in interior pages. So I'm wondering if that's just the colorization of this omnibus, or it was actually in the original. I'm not sure. She is a butterface. She got a rocking body on her, but that face is, I mean, I guess if you're into that kind of thing, but she's pretty rough looking in the face. So anyway, so there's this guy, this kind of like crazy mad scientist guy, and he's like, oh, don't kill him. I wanted to kill the Hulk, not this guy. And then he goes and tells him his story. Wow, look at the way definitely trying to get people's attention with that alien chick. But he shows him his crazy lab, and he's got the typical crazy lab / wizard's tower type thing, and he's working on this experiment to basically prolong his life. And he's like, how you doing it? And he's like, I'm using the blood of these aliens. So he's basically been tapping, as you can see here, he's been milking all of those, that girl's, her race, and milking the blood of them. They have to be alive too. And he's just like, oh my goodness, to get this like elixir that prolongs his life, his immortality serum. And so then they get into he pulls this blunderbuss out here, or flintlock, or what? That's a flintlock. Not a blunder. Is it a blunder? No, blunderbuss is a rifle. But still, I thought a blunderbuss is just, oh, whatever. It's definitely a flintlock pirate style revolver, or colonial revolver, not revolver, black powder gun. He pulls this on him, and I can't remember, how does he get out of it? See, it looks, I guess it is a double barrel. Oh, does he end up shooting his, I can't remember what happens. Or does she end up killing him? I think she kills him. Doesn't she? Yeah, she stabs him in the back, I think. Yeah, she runs a knife through him, she sneaks up behind him and stabs him in the back. And then, of course, he can't take it anymore. He ends up hulking out at the end, and then they show back up. Whenever he's a Hulk form, these little creatures, including Bit from Tron up there, and they show back up. So, and then Hulk just cuts loose at these skeleton warriors and just, let's come on, guys, let's crack some skulls, literally. And they're kind of like, oh, Hulk's back. And then I think she just wanders, after she realizes she's the last of her kind, she kind of just wanders off with her thong on there. Anyways, so that's it for this week. And like I said, I read them most of all the main titles, and they were pretty good. Like I said, I would probably say out of these that I read, my favorites were probably G.I. Joe and Conan. I'm probably still. I mean, I like the Hulk. I like this issue. Avengers is pretty good. Nebula's great. X-Men's usually pretty good, even an arcade issue. But I think the standalones here are these two comics here. So let's go back to this page, and we'll figure out which ones did I buy off the shelf, which ones did I have in subscription form, and which ones did I pass on. So remember, as we're talking, I didn't normally collect Avengers at this time, so I did not pick this up off the rack. I wish I would have. I didn't realize that all of these comics were by Buscema, and I didn't really even know who Buscema technically was at this time, but I remember I had like I said, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, which was written by him and Stan Lee, and I really liked his artwork. I thought it was like quintessential Marvel artwork. Like when I think of artwork, I think of John Buscema. And like I said, if I knew it was him and I made the correlation back then, I would have been picking this up regardless, just for the art. So I was not reading Avengers at the time. Again, Conan, I remember most of these issues I did have, but I had them with the covers removed because so that was the other category. Which comics did I get with the covers removed in a paper grocery sack that my Aunt Zola gave me? That was one of them there, that Conan comic. G.I. Joe G.I. Joe was I still had the subscription. I had the subscription all the way up to 80. I think the first year I didn't renew it was 87. So I got issue 1. I like everybody else, I missed issue 2, getting it off the spinner rack, and then ended up having to buy the second print of number 2 G.I. Joe. But I had the first print of number 1. And then I think by like issue 3 or 4, I figured out, I'm going to get a subscription. And got subscription. And I had a subscription at this time too as well. And pretty much from most of 82, actually I think it came out in the fall. I can't remember when it came out in the fall, but it's still 82. I had a subscription, which bled over into 83. I think I had to renew it in the middle of the year, or however it was. And 84 I did subscription, 85, 86. I think 86 was my last year of subscription of G.I. Joe. And then I figured I'd just buy it because it was easy enough to just buy off the shelf. And then I kind of bought them, but then missed a few issues after 86. Like I said, the cartoon was kind of wrapped up. I mean, I had that movie thing, the Cobra La thing, but by 88, I mean, I was really kind of barely paying attention to G.I. Joe. I was in high school. So that was a subscription. Get Along Gang, no. Hulk, no, didn't have that. Marvel Age, no. Like I said, I only bought them a couple of times. Marvel Fanfare might have had it, but I don't think I had that issue specifically, but I had a bunch of them, like as I said. Marvel Tales, no, didn't really care for the... Here's the thing, is the reason I didn't buy those is because, not because I knew it was a reprint, it's just that I didn't like the old school art at the time. I didn't like John Romita. Believe it or not, I didn't like John Romita Sr. at that time. I thought it's like, oh, it looks so old, looks so 70s. Just like Jack Kirby looks 70s. And it didn't look new or fresh. And that's the reason why I didn't, I love that stuff now, but at the time, I was not interested in it. Like I said, if Spider-Man was not in his black costume, I was not interested. The Moon Knight, no, did not get the Knight. Muppet Babies, no. As I said, Power Man and Iron Fist, no. ROM, I still had a subscription at the time. My subscription to ROM ran out literally at the last issue. Solomon Kane, forgot all about that. X-Men, bought that off the shelf. Web of Spider-Man, the annual. I bought that Web of Spider-Man annual off the shelf. And I don't think I read it. I think I just bought it, and looked at the art, and threw it in a shoebox. So which ones did I literally buy off the shelf? X-Men, Web of Spider-Man. I think it's it. Like I said, ROM was a subscription, G.I. Joe was a subscription, and Conan was a hand-me-down, a cover rip-off from my Aunt Zola. So that's how it was for this week. Alright, we will catch you on the next one. And just if you're wondering, the reason why we missed last week was, again, they didn't have, and as you can see, I took it off the screen, but they didn't have the 1 week in comics. So actually, you're not getting this. I would have get this. This is it was already recorded last. You remember, it's all screwed up. Anyways, I didn't post 1 week and I didn't do a video 1 week because they didn't have any new comics specifically in here, so I just skipped it. That's the reason why. So we're back on track. I don't think we're going to come across this. Maybe we're going to come across it one more time. No, I don't even think it's one more time. I think we're good for the rest of the year. I don't think we're going to miss a week. I mean, unless I miss a week, but I think there's comics every other week this year. I'm not going to go through them all right now, but I'm pretty sure there are. So we're going to go into, it's okay, so here we go. Oh, no, sorry, it's next week. It's next week. Sorry, next month. Sorry, brain's all in. Thinking way too far ahead. July 19th is my birthday, by the way. Comics came out on the 17th in 85 then. I saw June 19th. I thought that was, July. No, it's June. So week 25 is coming up next. And I'll make the video for that next week. Like I said, I'm making these, now I'm 2 weeks ahead because I've got a cachet now, so now I'm 2 weeks ahead. So I should be able to cover, if I don't record a video, because I've got some family stuff coming up a couple of times. Once this month, for June, and, which is this month, but it's not technically June yet. And July I've got my birthday, my sister's birthday, and my family vacation I take. So that's coming up as well. So I've got some leeway in case I miss a week, which I probably will. Probably both of those weeks. All right. In the meantime, I will catch you guys on the next one. Remember, like, subscribe, do all that business, and then send me your stories or whatever. I think I still hit at least 20 people in the last video, so hopefully it's my big crowd of 20 people that are watching these videos. Probably one of them's at least me. So, all right, I will catch you on the next one, and take care. Bye bye.